All right, guys, another episode of Oversteer TV, the podcast number 28. I think this will be. Yay! I'm here, my pal here, Jeff Brown. I'm Tony Castanera. The whole year is coming to an end. We're in November now. We're in turkey season coming up soon. And
Yeah.
then the horrors of Christmas. And then the stupidity of New Year's. Then we start all over again.
Yeah.
Um, let's start with NASCAR now. We're going to start with the NASCAR thing because they're coming into their championship race, right?
This weekend in Phoenix.
In Phoenix, in Pahonix, Arizona. Um, who spared us for having to hear about Kerry Lake for the next 6 years. Thank you, Arizona. One little political comment there. Okay, who are the final four again? They're two Penske's, right?
Two Penske's, yes. One Hendrick, which almost didn't happen, and one Jordan. I call it
Jordan.
the Michael Jordan. But yeah, there was just a tiny bit of controversy going on there.
I saw. Go ahead, explain it.
Oh man, explain it. Jeez. I mean, everybody and their grandmother's gone over this over the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
But what it boils down to is it came down to a Hendrick car and a Gibbs car,
Mm-hmm.
the 20 and the 24. And they were practically tied in points. They were just separated by 2 points. And the
Mm-hmm.
tiebreaker would go to the Gibbs car, the number 20, Christopher Bell.
Right.
And so they couldn't finish tied, and they were with the last couple laps they were tied in the points. So what happened was the 24 car
Mm-hmm.
was not going to make it into the playoffs if he lost another spot. I think he did have a 1 point lead, and so two Chevrolet cars. The one car of Ross Chastain and the number 3 car of Austin Dillon
Mm-hmm.
got right behind him and formed a blockade that nobody could pass and take the spot away from him. They were trying to ensure that a Chevrolet was going to make it into the Final Four, even though they were not teammates of him.
But they
They
know who
were
writes the
teammates
check.
of
Yeah.
the Chevrolet
Mm-hmm.
manufacturer. So, not to be outdone, the Toyotas, which was the number 20 car, the Joe Gibbs Racing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they realized they were 1 point behind, and they were behind another Toyota,
Mm-hmm.
which was Bubba Wallace. So Bubba Wallace's team got on the radio and said, "Hey, the Chevrolets are forming a blockade because that 24 car was going to be passed."
Mm-hmm.
But they had formed a blockade behind him, and the 20 car needed one more spot, and that spot was Bubba Wallace, but he was like a half a lap ahead. So Bubba Wallace cleverly over the radio says, "Oh, I think I got a tire going down." So he pulls to the side, starts letting everybody pass, and it comes
Mm-hmm.
down to the last 2 turns of the last lap where he pulls to the side, lets the 20 car by.
Mm-hmm.
The 20 car, not being sure that he could hold that position, ran it up into the wall.
Oh.
And all he had to do was turn off of the wall and finish where he was, because Bubba was not going to pass him back. That was the whole reason why Bubba had slowed down, was to let him pass.
Mm-hmm.
But
No,
his
it was a
not
cut
being
tire.
sure, he gassed it up on the wall, which is now a rule, a safety violation, because
Right.
2 years ago when Ross Chastain did the
Mm-hmm.
video game move against the wall there, which was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So they immediately made a rule against that. And then, of course, he broke it and was disqualified, which put the 24 car into the playoffs. But a Hendrick car, they started with 4 cars, and they were going to be no cars until that happened. So NASCAR immediately disqualified the 20 car for a safety violation of riding the wall.
Uh-huh.
And then later in the week, they issued a bunch of fines to Bubba Wallace for one, and then the one car and the three car for forming the blockade, saying there was race manipulation. Now, the question I have for you, Tony, is I feel like Formula One does race manipulation all the
All the
time.
time. Yeah.
Like this past race where McLaren asked Piastri to move
Right.
over and let his teammate by.
Mm-hmm.
Is that race manipulation in your opinion? Is
Of
my
course it
question.
is. Of course it is. But they have different rules.
Yeah, so, it's
NASCAR
fine in
doesn't.
Formula One.
You know, um, NASCAR tries to prevent it. Formula One tried to prevent it a while ago. They like about 20 years ago. They tried. Okay, you can have no over the radio, no more team orders. Then all of a sudden, everybody starts talking in code. Or
Right.
singing a song over the radio, and everybody knew what it meant, but they couldn't prove anything.
They couldn't prove it. So they just said, okay, it's going to happen. We're going to let it go.
Yeah,
Now, I understand why NASCAR has suspended 9 crew members, no drivers, but uh, 3 crew chiefs,
mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah,
and whoever else. There's 9 members and handed down, I think it was $600,000 in fines, over
yeah,
$500,000 in fines.
yeah.
And of course, it put Joe Gibbs out. His team, he's no longer in the Final Four within any team. And it put a Hendrick car in, one Chevrolet.
Well,
And
it's
so, I mean, I understand their reasoning. You're allowed to bet on these races. And, I liken it back to Pete Rose
mm-hmm.
when he was a manager and a player and was betting on games that he was participating in,
Yeah,
and it was game manipulation,
yeah, of course.
and then which led to him being permanently banned from the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the same scenario that they're trying to prevent in
Yeah.
NASCAR.
Well,
And so it's just been a huge, huge uproar. There's a lot of
mm-hmm.
people think that the drivers should have been suspended also.
um,
What's your opinion, Tony?
okay, let's get this out of the way for first things first. NASCAR, like Formula One, like IndyCar, they're all businesses. Okay, they're in the entertainment business. Okay,
Right.
the reason why they race those really expensive cars and pay those drivers ridiculous amounts of money is because people pay good money to see it in person or watch it on TV and sponsorship, blah 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 blah. Now NASCAR knows that when they do that team order stuff, it ticks off some fans. So they got to do something which is basically slap on the wrist. Okay.
Right.
Um, they suspend some crew chiefs and mechanics. Whoop the do. Okay. Nobody's
Well, I think it was the crew chiefs, the spotters, and one team executive.
okay. Nobody's going to a NASCAR race. Well, I'm sure there's probably one or two weirdos, but 99.9% of the fans are not watching a race because of a spotter or even a crew chief. Okay. They're watching to see their drivers. Now, if they really want to stop it, suspend the driver. Okay.
Right.
Tell them, hey, you lose that, you're out of the race, no more money for you. Then it'll stop happening. Okay. But, and the fines too. Yeah, they're kind of heavy fines, but it goes to a charity. So it's all a major tax write off, those fines. So,
Right.
so the accountant's already working on that right now.
They've already got things taken care of.
Mm-hmm. NASCAR is a hard time. There's gonna. I can't even like sometime race mill. I think it's cool that other cars might try to get in the way and block and stuff like that. Some type of manipulations, strategy, whatever you want to call it. They just got to make sure it's not blatant. I don't want people like, oh, this guy might go after my guy, so I'm going to put him in the wall. No, that you gotta. Even then, NASCAR being put in the wall is like an everyday occurrence, every weekend occurrence. As long as it's not blatant, like, okay, Bubba Wallace said, oh, I have a cut tire. He got out of the way and he went down low. Okay. He really
Right.
he didn't ruin anybody else's race, that thing or something like that. If he pulls like Nelson Piquet Jr., I don't know if you remember that, like about 10 years ago, Singapore, where
Yeah.
he crashed on purpose. I mean, had to call up a red flag. Alonso wins the race because of it. It probably cost Felipe Massa the world's driving championship and everything. Yeah, that no, that you got to come. You can't allow, which F1's came down hard on that. But
Well, it put PK out of Formula One, basically.
basically, nobody wants to touch him. And the owner too, the team principal Briatore, he was banned from F1 up until like this year. Now he's back. And
Actually, I have no problem with it. I had no problem with them forming the
yeah,
blockade behind the car, and I had no problem with Bubba moving out of the way. It's part of the sport, and I had no problem with it myself. It made the ending exciting, even though as it was happening, you really didn't know what was going
yeah.
on.
And let's be honest, that if it wasn't for all that manipulation going on and everything, that the race probably would have been kind of boring and nobody would be talking about it days afterwards, right?
Right.
They'd still be talking about because you got the championship coming up, but you know, stuff like that is what people talk about on social media or at the water cooler or at the wherever at the on church the following Sunday. um, Controversy is good as long as nobody's getting hurt that bad and it isn't a blatant ripoff. Then I say, hey, more power to those guys. NASCAR's got to do to pretend like they care about the
The
integrity of the
integrity.
sport, but they like it too. I mean,
Well, yeah, they like the attention. I mean,
yeah,
like you said, this is all anybody's been talking about all week.
exactly, exactly.
Except for the court case, Michael Jordan went into court this week also.
Uh,
I don't think they've made a ruling yet.
no, no, they did their thing, and that's going to probably NASCAR is probably going to make sure it happens like if there's any ruling in December between Christmas and New Year's where nobody's going to be paying attention, you know. So, or even I really doubt it'll even come down unless NASCAR really thinks they have a win here. I really doubt it'll come down to that. I think they'll settle something
Yeah.
beforehand. It makes sense because then that way NASCAR can say, "Oh, we're the better guy. We're gonna be nice to people and everything."
Well, the problem for the teams is they're not making money.
Oh,
You're in one of the biggest sports in the world, uh,
mm-hmm.
especially in this country. I
In
mean,
the United States, yeah.
you could say the NFL is the only thing bigger, and all your teams are losing money. That's why Tony Stewart got out. He knew this was coming, that they were going to make him sign this agreement that was going to continue to make
Mm-hmm.
him lose money. And he says, "Look, I'm done losing money. I'm not doing it anymore." And once all that happened in the court cases, I think I saw him the other day. He did a podcast or something where he said, all this makes me realize it was the right decision to get out now. Now was the right time to get out.
Yeah, he's gone all in the NHRA, which is one of those series that we really don't even follow. I know you don't follow it. I don't really follow it that much. I used to, but the NHRA is doing really good. A lot of people are getting into NHRA drag racing because there's apparently a lot of money in it. So,
Well, I guess the teams are making money.
yeah,
So I think the the deal will be that the teams are going to get a bigger cut. They're going to have to get some of that TV money,
yeah,
like the NFL. The teams get TV money,
mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
know, and I think that NASCAR is just going to have to loosen the purse strings there and get off some of that TV money and things like that, so the teams can
mm-hmm.
actually have a profit. I heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. the other day say he's never made a profit.
Mm-hmm.
He's a car owner now, and he's never made a profit. In fact, he's never heard of a car owner that has made a profit.
I
In
don't, I
all
don't
the
know.
years of racing, it's just there's no profit in it.
I don't
It
know.
costs you.
I don't know if I take that comment with a grain of salt because knowing Roger Penske the way I do, he's making money in NASCAR, okay, or he wouldn't be there. uh,
Well, like I said, the deal will probably be they'll get a bigger cut, they'll get a bigger slice of the
Probably.
pie.
Um, I could see something where the top teams make a bigger cut, the teams that finish near top, and maybe some of the lower teams, like, you know, don't suck and you
And,
might get more money.
well, it's the 36 charters,
Yeah.
the 36 charter teams. I think they're going to have to come off some money for those 36.
Mm,
Like you said, it may be a tiered system where top 10 get more money.
right.
You
Or
know,
Formula One, everybody
but if you've got a
top to
charter, I
bottom.
think they're gonna have to come to some sort of an agreement
Mm.
where the teams are going to be able to make more money.
Back to the racing. Joey
Okay.
Logano, Tyler Riddick, Ryan Blaney, and Byron. Who are you picking? It's one race. It's all for the championship.
Yeah. Yeah. And whoever finishes, ahead is
Yeah.
going to be the champion. For years the guy would win the race, but I think uh, the last couple, which it's kind of shady that the guy wins the race, wins the championship, and it did it for however many years in a row, and that just the fans would just cry, the fix is in.
Mm-hmm.
How can every single year
Mm-hmm.
the champion win the race? You, you'd rather have it where he finished, in the top five or somewhere, he finished ahead of the other guys and win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would make it look a little more legit. And I think that's what happened, over the last season or two. And that'll probably happen again. I don't know. The right now, Blaney, I think, has got to be, he's the defending champion. And the way he ran last week on a short track, which is similar to a short track in Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
I think right now he's pretty much got a dominant car. If you go with the results of this past race, because he won and raced his way in, it was a must win situation for him, or he wouldn't have been in,
Mm-hmm.
and he did it. So I think being the defending champion, and he's the defending champion because he won it in Phoenix last year. So I think his setup is put him in a
Mm-hmm.
position where he's got to be the favorite going in.
To be the biggest story, besides all the controversy of last weekend's race, the biggest story is Kyle Larson did make the Final Four,
Yeah,
who's
and
arguably
that's a travesty.
the best driver in NASCAR.
Right,
Uh,
and won more races than anybody else this season.
yeah, so that's one of my beefs with the point system in NASCAR.
So I feel like they may have to adjust that a little bit. I've heard suggestions where the regular season champion, that was Reddick this season, that if you're the regular season champion, then that should give you an automatic lock into the final.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you won the most races during that season, maybe that should lock you into the final. Maybe they should expand the final from 4 to 6 drivers, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 5, something like that.
Yeah, because right now it pretty much rewards whoever's peaking at the end.
Yeah.
You can rattle off, let's say 6 wins in a row at the beginning of the season. It means diddly squat at the end. Points you
Right.
might be way ahead, but
And that's why Logano's there, because he has a knack of being
right.
able to peak right at the end of the season at the playoff time,
Mm-hmm.
and that puts him in, even though his regular season was really not that good. He won a race to get him in, but that was about it. Whereas, Kyle Larson was a dominant driver all season, won the most races, led the most laps,
Mm-hmm.
and yet he's not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe they need to make an adjustment to the system.
Well, this will be,
They're
they've
going to
already,
listen to me, of course. They always do.
of course, they've already adjusted it twice. Maybe 3 times the charm. Well, we'll be watching this Sunday on, what is it, on NBC, right?
NBC, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Now, F1, that was fun.
Because of the weather, my DVR didn't start recording till they were 33 laps
Right, right. They
in.
started the race early because of the rain.
So I missed the whole. Evidently, Lando Norris was on the pole.
Yeah, he
Or
had
did
the
you see
pole.
the beginning of the race?
Yeah, I saw the beginning. Basically, what happened because they had torrential downpours, and so they had to
Right.
cancel. Well, first they had the sprint race Saturday, and
I
Lando,
saw that.
yeah, Piastri was winning, but then he pulled over to let Lando win, and everybody was like, eh. And
Yeah,
then they
race
were supposed to have,
manipulation.
yeah, then they had supposed to have qualifying, but then downpours. I mean, the track was under 3 feet of
I
water. It
saw
was
that
just
too.
there's just no way to race to do anything. So they held qualifying Sunday morning, and that was raining too. And Lando got pole mainly because Verstappen got screwed over in Q2, red flag right when he was starting his hot lap near the end. And so anyway, Verstappen was starting 17th in the
Right.
rain. It was Lando and then George Russell next to him. Lando choked again at the start. He let George Russell pass him and lead for a while. Um, then some of the everybody's racing in the rain. It was beautiful. First Verstappen passed like 7 people in the first lap. You know what I mean? He was like he was mad, he was pissed, and he wanted to show the world everybody who's the real best driver out there. Couple of things happened. Next thing we know, Esteban Ocon's in the lead in
Yeah.
in the Alpine, followed by Verstappen, followed by Gasly in the other Alpine. They're all running, and then they're going to have to come in soon for a pit. But then a red flag comes. They had to stop the race because I forgot who crashed. I think it was Hulkenberg. And when you the one thing in Formula One in a red flag, you really can't do anything to a car except change the tires. So they were able to change their tires. The race restarted. Ocon had a lead, then another red flag again, but this time Verstappen passed Ocon, and then that he was gone.
Yeah.
And Lando kept on going off track. And the McLaren right now is probably the fastest car out there, but in the rain, that's the equalizer in Formula One. In the on everybody's like, even with rain tires, it's like when you're driving a car in the rain, you have to be very precise where you're going and everything. And Verstappen just drove away with it. Lando was complaining, say that Verstappen won by luck. That didn't go over well with the press. Even the press started turning against him. Um, it's pretty much over for Lando this season. Verstappen has a chance to nail down a championship in a couple weeks in Las Vegas, but it's good to see finally the sniveling love affair the media has for Lando. It's like kind of like, eh.
Well, I have to admit that Oscar Piastri was a very good teammate in this past race. I've been complaining all season long about him being a terrible teammate, and I have to eat my words now because he followed team orders precisely all weekend long.
I think they finally got to him and told him, "Hey, we'll do this, 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 and this if you be a good boy."
Yeah.
Uh, and he was a good boy. I They had a new guy out there racing, Bierman, who was replacing Magnussen, who got sick. He's probably going to be taking Magnussen's seat next year in Haas. It's still, I'm not going to go into it now, but there's going to be a lot of different drivers on lot of different seats next year in Formula One. Should be fun. We'll talk about it next week after we talk about the NASCAR championship. That's oh no. The only other thing is Toyota won the World Endurance Championship. That's another topic we'll deal with another day. Uh, so when Vegas is in, I think 2 more weeks. There are only three
Right.
races left. Um,
What's the date of the last race? It's after Thanksgiving
I
or
believe I'd have to check.
December?
No, it's in November. It's they start Las Vegas starts in 2 weeks, and
Then
Qatar,
it,
and then Abu Dhabi. Here, let me get the schedule up. Bum, bum, bum. Hey, Where are we going here? Round 21. Okay, the 21st is Vegas. Then the 20, then wait, the 23rd is Vegas. The 1st of December, no, you're right, is December is Qatar, and then December 8th in Abu Dhabi. I mean, this schedule. I know a lot of people, they've been complaining and complaining. The season started at the end of February
Yeah.
for these guys, and they're racing to the beginning of December, the off
Yeah,
season.
that's a long season.
And then after week after the off season, they have the big. They give them an open test day and in down there in Abu Dhabi. So all the teams stay there for the week. So all the mechanics, everybody stay there in Abu Dhabi for a week, and so they're basically racing until like a week before Christmas. But then again, all expense paid trip to Abu Dhabi. I can handle that.
Yeah, I can spend the week there. Not a problem.
Yeah. All right. I guess it's another great episode, right?
Yeah, I mean that was pretty complicated with all the NASCAR
Uh,
fines and penalties and race manipulation and just it took me a while to figure it out.
It'll be interesting what happens this week in Phoenix if they do anything crazy or if it's just going to be a straight up race for the championship. Come on, throw something out there. Let's have some action.
I'm sure there'll be some sort of controversy. It never goes without controversy. You know, a lot of people have been complaining about NASCAR. You
Yeah,
know,
NASCAR needs something, a spark, if you ask me. I used to follow a lot, then I didn't, then I started again. This year, it's a little too. I mean, the drivers are boring. We
yeah.
need more. A fight now is just like a little push and a shove, and they make like a big deal. No, I want to see blood. I want to see teeth flying. I want to see the good old days.
I mean, racing and wrestling, they run the race and then get out and everybody wrestles.
Oh yeah, good old short track Hialeah Speedway days, that kind of stuff. Um, we got to do that. Once the season's over, let's do a thing. Let's do a thing about the Hialeah Speedway and some other short tracks we visited and other the grassroots stuff. What do you say?
Yeah, I like Hendry County Speedway up there, that dirt track. They've done a lot of improvements up there.
Yeah, we got to go
In
check
fact,
that
we
out one
stopped by
Saturday
there
night.
a week or two ago.
Yeah, we got to go check that out one
It
Saturday.
looks completely different. I mean, they've redone the place and
Oh
really a
yeah,
lot of upgrades.
I remember the first time we went there. It was like you had to drive through a mobile home graveyard. That was like kind of creepy. There are buzzers and everything. It was like weird. Something we can talk about in future episodes. So, guys, I want you to hit like, give us a comment, share this, guys. Spread the word. Come on. Two old
Right.
guys mouthing off about racing. What's not to love? All right, Jeff. We'll see you next week, guys.
All right.